And it's built for a smart economy. But what is smart economy? I think in the future, the economy or the trade or the finance will be very transparent, be fair, be inclusive, and the cost of establishing trust will be very low. Because today it's very, very expensive to build trust between people, between organizations. My wild guess will be there are more than maybe 1/2 of the costs are related to trust. All the lawyers, the accountants, the governments, all the regulations are to build or enforce trust. So the trust is very expensive. In the future, with blockchain technology and other technologies, I think the cost of trust will be minimal, and there will be very few middlemen in all the transactions, all the trades. So NEO is built for all this future smart economy, and everything will be automated, less human error, less human intervention, and more fair. So that's the design philosophy, and so we are an open network for smart economy. And if you open the website of Ethereum, you will see their definition is a blockchain app platform. And the first line after that is let's build unstoppable application, or anti-censorship, anonymous. So I think those are the keywords related to Ethereum. But with NEO, we want to be more compliant ready. Maybe it's not compliant 100% today, but we want to be compliant ready. I think it's time for blockchain to be connected to serve for the real economy, not just for doing some experimental things. I've been talked with many people that are involved with Ethereum, and lots of the dApps, their tokens are heavily traded in different exchanges, but their dApps, their service are not really being used. Very few people are really using Augur to do a future smart prediction. Very few people are really using those dApps. With NEO, we want to change that. So that's the difference in design philosophy. And then it turns into two aspects, the technical difference and the economic difference, economic model difference. So I talk about technical difference first. We have different consensus mechanism. The consensus mechanism, the NEO, is called delegated preventive fault tolerance. So it's or delegated BFT or DBFT. The advantage of DBFT is first it's very fast. It takes 15 seconds now for one block in NEO, and it could be it can be tuned to be faster, maybe 5 seconds or 3 seconds, similar to Stellar and Ripple. Yeah, and then we can. That's one point. And second, it had very good finality. You don't need to wait for 2 confirmations or 6 confirmations or maybe 30 confirmations to a transaction to be. You don't need to wait for that long. One confirmation is the final confirmation. You can make sure the transaction really went through. So that's the advantage of our consensus mechanism. And the second difference is the smart contract system. NEO is, I believe NEO is the second really usable smart contract system other than Ethereum smart contract. We launched our new smart contract system in August this year. And the big difference is you can use matured language like C# and Java, Python, JavaScript to write smart contract. And we developed some compiler to compile your code into the bytecode and run on our own virtual machine called NeoVM. So in this way, you can use the mature language, you can use your familiar IDE to write smart contract. It's much easier, and all the tools are there. So that's the smart contract. And these two difference, consensus mechanism and smart contract, contributes to a much faster transaction per second or throughput or the speed, scalability of NEO. Today we can handle about 1,000 transactions per second today, but I think Ethereum maybe handle 20 or 30 transactions per second. So we are tens of times faster than other blockchains. So that's a technical difference. And there are some economic difference. There are two sides. One is economic model. In NEO, there are two tokens where the first blockchain used dual token system. We separate stake and utility. NEO token is a stake. When you're holding NEO, you are holding a stake of the blockchain. You can vote for who can join in the consensus process and how much the transactions fee should be. So that's a stake, and we call it governance token, NEO. And then the gas token. The gas token is for utility. You use gas to pay for everything, to deploy a smart contract, to pay for a transaction. So gas is a utility token. The good point of this is when you need to spend, you need to pay for a transaction. You don't need to reduce your percentage of the stake in the whole network. If you are holding 1% of NEO, of all the NEO, you always hold 1% of NEO. And when you are holding NEO, you will gradually, block by block, be rewarded some small amount of gas, but that is enough for you to pay for daily transactions. That's the token model difference. And then the transaction fees are very different. With Ethereum, every transaction need to pay a small amount of Ether or gas for the transaction fee. But with NEO, the first 10 gas is free. That means if you are sending money from one point to another, or you are doing some regular transactions, those users do not need to pay any transaction fee. It's zero fee. It's more like the internet model. It's freemium. But if you want to do some complicated, intensive smart contract, you want to deploy your contract, you need to pay for that. And it's quite expensive comparing to other blockchains. So it's more like business are paying for the users. So it's a reversed paying model. So that's the economic difference. And there are some governance difference. With NEO, we reserved 50% of the token to foster the ecosystem. And we are still holding 50% of the token. That's a lot of money. It's about $1.5 billion today. So we are holding a fortune to help NEO to grow faster, to catch up with other blockchains. So if you guys are developers, marketers, or interested in doing business in blockchain, especially with NEO, I think those people will be rewarded in the future with all the tokens we hold. Yeah. Okay, that's basically the difference between us and Ethereum. I hope after my explanation you will have some idea of NEO. Thank you.
And last but not least is Jed McCabe, who also needs very little introduction.